I have the honor of introducing and welcoming a dear brother who has contributed so much to the remembrance of our planet. I like to call him an OG or an original galactic. This brother started Portal to Ascension before any of this was a thing, and he's been at the forefront of conscious exploration and connecting us to our roots. And from a human level, he's a deep soul brother who I love. And every time I co-create with him, I feel blessed as a human being. You're just a divine soul. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's pass the talking stick to Neil Gaur.
Thank you, brother. All right, everybody. I'm excited to be presenting with you today and presenting this. I did not, 6 months ago, if you ever asked me if I would ever present on dragons, I would have been like, why would I do that? And even though I knew about dragons, I know people connected to them. I know my brother Flo has had a course for a few years now about them. I never felt that I would be here presenting. And when I even created this conference, I wasn't even sure if I was going to put together a presentation for it in the beginning. But over the last 6 months, there's just been a huge transformation going on with me, and dragon energy everywhere, synchronicities upon synchronicities, to the fact, to the confirmations and validations that you can no longer deny, right? Right now, I'm in the Azores, which is Portuguese islands in the middle of the Atlantic, surrounded by 3 volcanoes with dragon stories all around. If you go many places in the world, let's talk about the history real quick, and you see stories of places where the volcanoes, there's a lot of dragon stories there, whether it's Lake Atitlan in Guatemala or where I am now. And whether it's a literal or metaphorical dragon, that fire energy, that energy of creation, the energy of destruction and recycling. I'm just coming to me in this moment as I'm speaking here. It's very much a Kali energy, a Shiva Kali energy, where not only is the dragon a destructive force, but it's also a creative force. And that's what we're going to get into today, the fertility of the creative force of the dragons, right? And so I don't like to call Shiva or Kali destroyers like so many people think they are. It's actually recyclers is what I like to call it, because there is no destruction. There is only a recycling of energy to create something new. And that's what these volcanoes that are around me are representing. And that's, to me, what the dragon energy represents. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to share a PowerPoint with you all. So today's presentation, everybody, is called, hold on one second, The Cosmic Dragons and the Incarnation Process. We're going to do a few different things today. I'm going to show you some audio clips of a regression I had with Bridget Renee Holiday, who's one of the presenters today. I want to show you, speak about some historical context. I love to bring full circle awareness when I do presentations. So we talk about history, we talk about mythology, metaphors when it comes to dragons, and then my regression to the dragon worlds and the dragon realms. And there are so many more dragon realms than the ones that I visited, but I'm going to give you from my specific angle of the connection that I had and what I was shown. So first, something that, even before Flo and I got together and decided to do a Dragons conference, something I had spoke about before, if there was anything I ever spoke about, was the awareness that in the East versus the West, right, Western world, we have 2 different storylines when it comes to dragons. In Western world, we have them depicted often as menacing creatures to be defeated, slaying the dragon, right? They are seen as symbols of chaos, evil, and destruction. Stories of knights or heroes slaying dragons, such as the famous legend of St. George. And I'm living in England right now, so I actually went to one of the castles with the story of St. George and the dragons there. Portray the triumph of good over evil. This narrative of conquering the dragon represents what people believe represents overcoming challenges or vanquishing malevolent forces. Okay, so I'm going to add to that. The slaying of the dragon, from my understanding as well, also represents a control mechanism of not allowing the Kundalini to wake up, right? 1, controlling the Kundalini energy. Don't let these people wake up. Slay the dragon, right? 2, being at a level where the Kundalini energy was so powerful that people became in fear of allowing it to awaken in an inorganic way, right? By forcing it to awake, slaying the dragon, right? And then three, the reptilian energy and the archon energy that had an influence on our earth, right? That made a lot of people start fearing the dragon, the serpent. And the best story for that really is the Adam and Eve story, right? The story of the snake and the fear around the serpent that is ingrained in our DNA, right? Why is this ingrained in our DNA? Is it that there's something happened when it came to some sort of reptilian energy? Or is it a reptilian energy and genetics within ourselves, the shadow work within ourselves that we're fearful of even confronting, that is the serpent energy that we're choosing not to integrate or accept? Is it a part of ourselves that we're not accepting, the darkness, or both? In many Eastern cultures, dragons hold a revered and benevolent status. Dragons are associated with power, strength, wisdom, and good fortune. In Chinese, Japanese, and other East Asian traditions, dragons are considered divine creatures that bring rain for agriculture, guard important places, and represent imperial authority. They are symbolic of auspicious energy, prosperity, fertility, and longevity. And just to talk about a few places where the fertility connection is to get into the regression that really gets deep into the fertility aspect and birthing process, there are a different, after I had my regression with Bridget, right? She's in the room right now and she's going to be speaking later. I started doing research, and this article for this is on my website, portaltoascension.org, under articles, dragons and fertility. I started saying, like, well, having all these synchronicities around fertility and children and dragons, I wonder if there's any connection to these ancient scriptures. So I started doing some research and found that they are. So just to give you some context before we get into the regression, I'm going to go over a few of these. Chinese mythology, symbol of power, strength, fertility, often associated with rain and agriculture and the growth of crops and the rebirthing process, the blossoming process, believed to bring good luck and abundant harvests. Then we have Quetzalcoatl, the Aztec and the Maya, a feathered serpent, okay, feathered serpent, a deity in Mesoamerican cultures like Aztec and Maya, wind, air, learning. Quetzalcoatl was associated with fertility and the renewal of life. Connection to wind and rain made him a bringer of prosperity. And then we have the Nagas in Indian mythology, half serpent, half human being, or full dragon beings. The Hinduism, the Naga serpent deities associated with water and fertility again. In the Japanese folklore, Ryu are dragon-like beings associated with water, agriculture, fertility. They were believed to reside in the bodies of water, which is interesting because we're going to speak soon about that connection, and control rainfall. Marduk in Babylonian mythology, we also have his role in cosmic fertility and creation, right? So that's like the cosmic egg, which Flo spoke about. The Kukulkan in Maya mythology, he's also the counterpart of Quetzalcoatl, associated with fertility, rain, and agriculture, right? A lot of similar themes, fertility, rain, and agriculture, from these supposedly independent cultures around the world. Imugi, Korean mythology. Imugi is a benevolent dragon that dwells in water. Imugi's appearance was believed to bring rain, ensuring fertile fields and successful harvests. So, space, everybody, when it comes to world governments, they consider it a body of water, the second ocean, if you will, which is why the Navy in the US has dominion over space, right? And if you look at biblical text, they talk about the waters from heaven coming down to earth, speaking about space in the terms of water. And here we have a dragon that resides in the waters. Native American, we have the horned serpents, fertility again. Balinese, we have the lion-like creature that represents the triumph of good and evil, associated with fertility, prosperity, protection against harmful spirits. So now that we kind of just showed that there's a lot of similarities across cultures when it comes to what dragons represent to them all, I'm going to get into this regression that happened, I think, like 8 months ago now. And what I entitled this regression and what occurred to me is truly my journey into the dragon realms and other reptilian ancestry. And I'm gonna go deeper into the dragon realms. The reptilian ancestry part is really gonna be part 2 of this presentation, which will be a specific event specifically on reptilian races. And that will be a little deeper dive into that. So we got to start with how the regression began. So I'm going to do this like we're doing a journey together. As my regression began, I closed my eyes and I tapped into a state of stillness, meditative awareness. The first thing I saw was myself as a mid to late 20s Native American man in a transparent bubble, hovering in space, looking down at Earth. I was just there, staring to Earth. Behind me, there were no stars at all. It was completely black, as if I existed in a void-like state. Where was I? What am I looking at? Why am I looking at Earth? All of a sudden, I realized that I am this Native American, North American man, that this was one of my incarnations. And I'm looking down at Earth before I incarnated there. As I had this realization, infinite bubbles appeared behind me. Infinite bubbles. In each of these bubbles was a different incarnation of myself in different timelines, thousands of years ago, 100 years ago, 250 years ago. Infinite versions of myself right behind myself as the Native American man. I had a realization that these weren't just incarnations of myself on this earth. This was every incarnation on parallel Earths, including our third dimensional reality that we're on now, all behind me while I'm still looking down at Earth. In a split moment, all of a sudden, everything goes black, and I see a fetus. I see a fetus turn into a baby, just laying there in space. And I'm looking at this baby and wondering who it is, or why am I seeing this? As I do this, I'm also noticing myself as the Native American man. I begin to fly. I begin to fly closer and closer to Earth. I leave the transparent bubble and I am moving towards Earth, attempting to get into the atmosphere. And the closer and closer I get, the more difficult and the harder it gets to penetrate the atmosphere of Earth. And I can't quite make it all the way through the atmosphere. And then in another split second, I'm on Earth. I'm now on Earth. I couldn't make it through the atmosphere of the planet, but all of a sudden I'm on Earth. But I'm no longer the Native American man. At first, I couldn't see what I was doing, who I was. All I could see were my hands in front of my face. Little baby hands of a white child. Little hands. And then I started seeing this paper dragon, this red paper dragon, with the sun reflecting through the cracks of the paper dragon. And I realized that I'm a little 2-year-old baby girl playing with my red dragon. As I start doing this, I start seeing a spirit of a dragon, a red dragon spirit, spinning around me, going in through my chest, out of my chest, playfully around me. I was giggling, having a good time, laughing so hard. And the awareness that came to me in that moment was, wow, this is my friend. This is my imaginary friend. I have an imaginary dragon. But it wasn't an imaginary dragon. It was quite a literal spirit actually playing with me that the adults couldn't see. And it was a red dragon. And I even had a toy for a dragon. A little side note, right? A little disclaimer here, or just more like a side note. A few weeks after this regression, I'm in Germany and I'm just having breakfast in the morning at the hotel. Some random people that are doctors that are helping out people in Uganda, but they aren't into spirituality, anything like that. And I'm speaking to them and I'm talking about what we do. Didn't talk about dragons, just talked about general portal ascension, Joan of Angels with me, talking about that. And I start saying to them, just general stuff. And then her response, because she didn't know what to say, because it was like a deer caught in the headlights, because she was like, oh, because it's just so out of their world, right? Said to me, you know, my little girl had a dragon as an imaginary friend until she was age 3. This was only a few weeks after my regression, where I had the awareness and the download that children have a dragon counterpart for the first 3 years of their life, which we'll get into in a moment. And I was age 2, and in that moment, in this regression, all of a sudden, I knew that this dragon had been with me before. I've been into other realms with this dragon, and it's here to support me now. And the way it was going around me was offering comfort and support. So Bridget asked me, "Are you connected with the dragons?" And I said, "Yeah, the spirit of the dragons are with me." And she asks me, "Do you want to dive deeper?" I answer, "Yes. I see different reptilians." She goes, "Do you mean sauroids?" Which are what the reptilians are called. And then all of a sudden, I see myself as 3 different reptilians that look like this. The first one I saw was a duck-headed being with duck face with a reptilian body, all in portrait form. The second one I see was a fish-headed reptilian, the one all the way to the left here. And then the third one I see is this guy in the middle. This picture doesn't do it full justice of what it really looked like. On top of a mountain, dressed in a robe with also purple in it, with this royal essence and elegant features about him. And I didn't get what the other two were, what the duck reptilian was, what the fish reptilian was, but I did get from the middle one that he was a ruler and a philosopher and a benevolent being, right? And I saw myself as these 3 reptilians, but it was interesting because I saw literal portraits of each one of them. So I asked myself, why am I seeing this? Right? Well, like, why am I seeing this? Well, Bridget kept asking me this during the whole thing. Why? What does this mean for you? Why are you seeing this? And the answer were dragons are the ancestors of these beings and all reptilians in our galaxy. That they were the original creators, right? To take it even deeper, they're part of the creators of not only that, but many other species that you wouldn't even classify as dragons, as creator beings. They're basically the Elohim of the dragon worlds, and they existed here before the humans came in through Lyra. They would have been here for millennia, and many of them had transcended physicality and gone to a purely ethereal realm. I'm not sure if there's physical ones still left because my regression didn't take me to that, but I did see that a lot of these beings are actually transcended of physicality entirely, and they are supporting us from the other realms as spirits. I was transported back in that moment to me being a child and then me seeing the fetus. And I began receiving downloads as to the birthing process, right? I started receiving downloads on what they were doing and how they were interacting with the youth on this planet, with children. I found out from the direct connection I had that they are content, wise, passionate beings that teach children wisdom and harness abilities and how to harness our abilities and provide protection. They're in essence the buffer zone, right? So they're basically the buffer zone for children to enter a traumatic experience of Earth, which includes amnesia, right? And to speak on that for a minute, some may say I had came to Earth and I experienced no trauma. I'm saying that just the birthing process in itself can be traumatic. Just the being ripped from these other dimensions into Earth, into this experience where you're no longer this expanded being that remembers the expansion, just from coming to a place with limited bandwidth of frequency of expression, just by coming to a place where amnesia is one of the ground rules of this reality. Those in itself are a traumatic experience for a child that comes in with awareness, which for the first 3 years of your life, if you know anything about the science of the brain, is the DMT in our brain is really, really strong for the first 3 years of our life, which is why you don't really have distinct memories until after age 3, because you're basically on a constant psychedelic trip which is why babies' eyes are so large. They're seeing other worlds, other dimensions. If you start asking them at a young age about their past lives, they can tap into that and start remembering those things. So we basically need a ground control. We need a ground unit in order to help us come into this earth. And the dragons, well, specifically the red dragon tribe that I was connected with, was the one supporting me. They provide health, playfulness, and energetic support, not some metaphysical, metaphorical thing of energetic support, but literal energy, frequency, vibration, electricity in us. They are there. They're literally there, right, to support us. So the question I had though, is this all for all children? All that are born on Earth? That was what I was asking. And I felt that yes, that was the answer. I felt it, but I didn't know. Another synchronicity, right? So many synchronicities. I could do a presentation just on the synchronicities. 3 months later, after this regression, I believe she's attending this event now. A woman calls me. She goes, "Oh my God, I'm so excited about the Dragons conference that you guys are doing. I have such a connection to dragons." And we had like a 30-minute conversation on the phone about dragons. And sorry if you're in the room and I kind of butchered the story, I apologize. But basically, she was telling me that from, I forget how she got the insight, that dragons come down with children and are there with them for the first few years of their life, giving them support. I'm like, whoa, that's what I saw in my regression. And then she adds to it that they come down specifically for the star seeds. Okay. So I don't know what is the actual process, because I have an analytical, curious mind. I like to know the actual truth. So I just saw my connection to the dragon and I felt it could be all children. But then she called me and said that actually dragons specifically come with certain souls that are designed to help awaken humanity, which could be true as well, as opposed to a star seed compared to an earth seed. So I'm not too sure how that actually works. So I wanted to see more. So I say, show me more. And all of a sudden, I'm out in space once again, looking at Earth, and I can see the North Pole of Earth at the top. And there is this spiraling red and white vortex energy on the top of the North Pole on planet Earth, with a hole in the middle going into hollow Earth. And then I enter. The dragons say to me, "This is where we come from, into Earth." Bridget asks, "Dragons, will you take us to the portal and show us how this works?" And then a red dragon entered my third eye. And then another one came up to my face, kind of like this picture on the left here, and went right into my heart. And boom, I'm inside Earth. And when I'm inside Earth, I see this amazing cavern inside Earth with a translucent neon blue pool with dragon spirits all around this pool. I wonder what it is and what I'm seeing. And then what I receive is that this is where the souls come from. Souls don't come from space. The reason why myself as a Native American man trying to fly down to Earth and I couldn't penetrate the atmosphere was because it was all a holographic projection. I couldn't enter the hologram. I was perceiving the hologram through the void, and I couldn't go down. I could only come out from within. I can only come out through the subatomic particles, which are all black holes, which are all void spaces. So the only way to come out and to be born into Earth is not to come down from up from the heavens, but to come from inside the Earth. Inside the Earth is a subatomic vortex of energy that we emerge out of. And the way it looked for me was a translucent pool with dragons all around it, not too dissimilar from this image. Dragons of all colors. This place was the life force of Earth, the origination of souls, the fountain of souls. All physicality externally reflects the inner world, including the inner sanctuary of our Earth. Dragon spirits are ready to go with you as soon as your soul exits this incarnational system. So the way I saw it work is basically the soul will come out of this neon blue pool-like substance liquid. The dragon spirit that had no legs, had a dragon face, serpent body, was an apparition, would caress in its body, coil up and hold the spirit of the baby, and then it would fly and find the womb in which this baby was supposed to come out of, and it would go and plant this baby through the wormhole of the womb, right? Not to get into like deep into this, but we could spend a whole 2 hours just talking about how the womb, if a soul exists, how the womb is a literal wormhole from another dimension that is pulling in this frequency, that pulls in the soul, right? Souls don't just get created from the cells, they come from somewhere. So they come from the inner earth, and then they are brought through the wormhole of the serpentine energy, which also represents wormholes in ancient scriptures, Babylonian scriptures, Indian scriptures. A lot of times they use snakes and serpents in order to represent advanced quantum physics and wormholes, right? So this dragon is the personification of this wormhole that takes the soul and plants it into the womb. They don't have, as I said, they don't have legs, these beings. They are floating, they're flying. Again, why are we being shown this? Why are we being shown this? And this is a clip from a regression in which I got the answer. This planet is more connected to the serpents than anybody wants to admit.
Yes.
Serpents, as I already know, is my human soul, are not evil or inherently evil. There are all types of experiences. Benevolent ones are as important as the others. Benevolent ones do not need to be acknowledged. They don't need to receive praise. They don't need to have an ego boosted. They understand the bigger picture.
Mm-hmm.
They're full service. And being full service is allowing the free will for those to hate them, even if they aren't the ones connected to any nefarious experiences for Earth humans. But the dragons are different. The dragons are respected. Dragons are revered. But the offspring of the dragons are all those reptilian, serpentine beings, and all those that have the DNA that connects to what they originally created, including humans. The last part said, all the beings, the reptilian beings, have a connection to the ancestry of the dragons. The last part I said was, including humans. And the beginning of this, in case you guys didn't hear it properly, was why are we being shown this? Because this is about our ancestry. This isn't about good and evil. This is about how we're all connected to similar genetics. And the ones that are the benevolent beings, the benevolent reptilians, right, from the dragons, speaking about reptilians, they don't need to be acknowledged. They don't need to interfere. Some of them are doing their own thing. Others are actually here on Earth supporting without the need for credit or ego boost, right? So there's all these beings that have these sauroid serpentine DNA that are actually benevolent or completely neutral to us, but we aren't aware of it, right? So that was part of why we're being shown this. And part of the experience on Earth was the free will for us to experience the other nefarious agenda. And we have this collective trauma based on those that have decided that they want to impose something on us and have done it more directly, right? So why we're being shown this is because it goes so much beyond good and bad. And there is a way, and we'll get to this later, Is there a way for us to bring peace between warring factions and tribes and to truly see each other as family? The dragons, they said they would love a day to come where we do not just look into the sky for those beings that look like us to find commonality with, but also realize we are connected through genetics and ancestry to beings that look nothing like us, right? So think about the types of images we see of beings. Think of the Pleiadian beings, right? Which we see. The Pleiades, there's multiple stars, not just the seven sisters that we see, six of them we see, right? And there are multiple civilizations in different dimensions. Are they all just looking like one being? A lot of times we see images of specific Nordic-like beings from there, right? And if we look into a lot of other races that people speak about, we see humanoids with two eyes, two ears, nose, mouth, hands, opposable thumbs a lot of times, right? We see them looking very similar to us, but there are beings out there that are genetically connected to us, not only because there are two types of genetics. There's the physical genetics, there's the etheric genetics, right? And some of these beings, are closely connected to us through soul genetics, where we're souls bouncing from incarnation to incarnation into bodies that might have different genetics than anything we might have experienced before. It's so intermingled and so connected, and we've relied on each other for millennia in order to have all these experiences and have the diversity of experiences on Earth, like what we signed up for, which is to experience ourselves infinitely, that one day soon these dragon tribes, right, the ones that I connected to, because now I'm realizing over the last 8 months that there's lots of different civilizations of dragons, and they're all might have different intentions, right, or different purposes, right? So these ones are saying one day there will be a day we look into space and we feel connection to those that don't look like us. Great example, dragons. Do they look anything like a human? Not really. Do you guys feel a connection? Most likely. That's why you're here now, right? So can this happen for all of humanity? And here is another clip from the regression where I speak about that.
Earth is a racist planet, but it's not race based on just the Earth experience of race. It's the race based on other races. They would love for me to figure ways to move past this.
I asked again, well, I asked like 5 or 6 times during this whole thing, why are we showing this? What does this mean for me? What am I getting out of this? An answer, Earth is a racist planet, but not race in the way that we look at it, as in race on our planet, but race as in civilizations of extraterrestrials. And they would like for me, using Portal to Ascension, to find a way to move past this. And this has been something that's been, I've always been an advocate, if you will, an activist for getting over galactic speciesism. And what I'm realizing is that Earth, I kind of say this playfully and jokingly, but at the same time a little serious, is that Earth is like a mental institute for galactic trauma. That we are the last battle of bringing peace to all of the craziness that we created in our universe karmically, and through disagreements, through judgments, through hierarchy. And so many civilizations that all wanted to bring peace on some level, but maybe couldn't do themselves, donated their DNA to the earthly experience so that we could all evolve into the species that we are and figure out how to live in peace with ourselves, with each other. And the way I like to explain it, back in the day, thousands of years ago, even hundreds of years ago, you might have seen this in movies, that there will be a war, let's say it's the Trojan War or something along those lines. There's 10,000 people on one side, 15,000 people on the other side, and both of the chiefs of each of those battles, each of those armies, come together at the battlefield, and they come together and they say, okay, you choose your best guy, I'll choose my best guy. We'll let them duel it out. If yours wins, I'll leave. If mine wins, I take over your city, whatever, right? Something like that. that's kind of like how I see what's happening on Earth, that we've all donated DNA in order for us to, for lack of a better way of explaining it, battle it out so that we can figure out how we can come to peace. And we've been battling it out, whether it's squishing an ant from the ant people, or whether it's creating wars, or what is happening in the Middle East, which is our actual karmic reflection of the Orion Wars and the DNA Wars incarnating on Earth that's been going on for thousands of years. So we are here to conquer, and bring peace, to figure out how to live in harmony with each other. And as we move into these higher dimensions, isn't that what the goal is? How to live in duality, how to live in the Shakti force energy, but to still be still. How to live in duality, but to come from the singularity. That was one of the downloads that I received from them. Then, just like that, in a flash, all of a sudden, the red dragon that I said earlier came into my third eye, came into my heart. I received a name. The name of my dragon, my counterpart, came to me. The one that brought me into this world from the center of our planet. Name is Kumbala, the red dragon tribe, from the red dragon tribe. We asked for Kumbala to blend with me, and I saw 2 or 3 red dragons spinning around, and the Kumbala asked me if I would like to channel a message in dragon language from him. And this was the beginning of me communicating in dragon light language. I don't know if I'll have time now to do it in a little bit, because I'm over in like 10-15 minutes, but I'll show you the clip of the first time the dragon language came from me. Kumbala asked, "Can I speak?" And this is what came out.
Kumbala nasama soy kun. Kupalinda morako masino akalasul ma pietara kufole para kata imbasu pano ya ta simo kola talea ora tatimasitina pa kuli arata maka kupala.
As I've been doing the dragon light language since then, I've realized it's very, very similar to Sanskrit. And I feel like Sanskrit is actually a descendant from the dragon language. And now I'm connected with my dragon, with my counterpart dragon. And I see us as 2 red dragons floating through space in unison with each other through millennia and millennia. As we go from solar system to solar system, visiting beings, supporting, lending energy, and also creating life. This dragon, Gombala, was my cousin or my brother. That's what I got when we tuned into, who are you two, Neil? Cousin or brother? Those are the things that came, okay? And Kumbala, when I left the dragon realms, and I decided simultaneous life, because there was other lives going on at that time too, including one in Orion. When I left the dragon realms, I said to Kumbala, "Will you come with me? Will you help me when I come to Earth?" Kumbala agreed and went to Earth, into the hollow Earth, to the neon pool in the middle of the Earth, awaiting for me to be born. And then when I came out to be born, caressed me and took me into the womb in which I was born into. Stayed with me for the first 3 years of my life, was my imaginary friend, helped me, gave me protection, lent me energy and support. And then when I turned 3, coiled up into my heart and went to sleep. Rested in my heart. And I got this not just for me, I got this for whoever connects and has that dragon connection. This is how the dragons work. But then the question is, after 3 years of actively interacting with us, the dragon spirit coils up into the heart, waiting for us to activate the dragon heart. But many of us go lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes without doing it. So why don't they continue to interact with us throughout our lives, right? Because Bridget even asked in the beginning, well, does he need to go to sleep? Why is he going dormant? Can he be out there helping you, supporting you? No, because this is a free will universe. They only act as the buffer for the first 3 years. And then, so to speak, you're on your own. Learn your lessons. You're supported always, right? Learn your lessons, go through your experiences. Can you remember? Go through the game you chose. Can you remember? Can you remember? Will you remember? No, let's try it again. Will you remember? No, let's go all over again. And they are allowing for us to come and have the experience we came for. So they coil up in the heart, quite literal dragon heart, waiting for us to activate that energy within us. So that was my regression. Now, before I close out here, I'm going to talk about the next chapter, because that was only half of everything that happened. There's a whole other chapter, but this chapter, even though it connects to dragons, connects mostly to Orion and what happened there and the specific incarnations on that planet with the hijacking and the taking over of Earth, which was also meant to be, right? So that is going to be called the journey to Orion and the portal world. Okay, little spoiler alert. I was the head of a portal room, 3 regressions back to back, right? Or within a few months, all gave me pieces of this information. There was one more after Bridget, and it was just mind blowing, like how everything fit together. So I was the head of a portal room in Orion on the 3rd planet in Orion. I was, you know, Thor, the movie Thor, that portal guy that's there at the gate with his axe or whatever, making sure that people can, who goes through and who comes out. That was me. I was the guardian gatekeeper of the portal. This was the largest portal in the whole of our galaxy on Orion. Guess what the portal's nickname was? The portal to descension. The portal to descension. Then I was the guardian of the portal to descension from Orion into the lower worlds. And then I incarnated on Earth in order to be, and I created the portal to ascension as the answer to the descension portal that I originally created. That was like really like mind-blowing information came. So this one's called The Journey to Orion and the Portal World, the Dragon and the DNA War Connection, how we brought peace to a system in chaos, and how we rebuilt the Creator God technology. So that will come at another time. The dragons took me to Orion to show me what happened. They have a deep sorrow for what occurred in Orion and wish for all of us to be at peace, because we are in essence siblings at war with each other. We are children at war with our brothers and sisters. And what came to me in that moment is the Mahabharata story. Arjuna and Krishna. Arjuna was fighting a war against his brother. There were families that were split. The Trojan War, people in the same family was split, fighting each other. And when Arjuna said, I do not want to kill my family, blah, 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 Krishna did what? Stopped time and space, split a hole in the universe, showed him why he's doing what he did and how it was meant to be, and how if you fully embrace that he needs to go to war and finish this thing off and see it all the way through, that the world and the kingdom that he envisioned would happen. Very similar to what happened with Orion and what kind of information I was receiving from the dragons. And then to close it off here, the final message. First one is a little thing that Bridget said that I thought was great to include here. The second one is the message that I received. Now I want to say a little disclaimer about the message. You know, it basically says, starts with love the ones you hate, right? A lot of people here, you don't hate, right? You might dislike some people, but you don't really generally hate. So the disclaimer is, this maybe isn't just for you, this is for the collective of us and our perceptions on the occult, the evildoers, the ones that have done us wrong, the governmental organizations, the reptilian energy, the archons, whatever people think is going on to them and is happening to them. It's like, how do you embrace these beings, but also hold them to justice, right? So here's the first one is from Bridget.
They've told me many times that Earth is playing out scenarios that have happened all over the universe. We have scenarios playing out right now within the human expression that are identical to that, right? all around the world.
We are playing out all these scenarios from the universe on Earth. And the last message to me.
Love the ones you hate.
Mhm.
Don't wait. Don't wait around for them to change. Don't wait around to be in their countries where they're imposing.
Love the ones you hate. Don't wait for them to change. Don't wait for them to do the things that you want them to do so that you can be at peace with yourself.
They've told me many times that Earth.
Things that you don't want to be a part of. Don't wait around for them to wake up.
Don't wait for them to wake up.
Create the world that you want.
Create the world you want.
Go where you want.
Go where you want.
Move forward with knowing and without fear, without the investment in someone having to change for you to be you.
Without the investment in someone having to change for you to be able to be you.
There will be a time to change. Love the ones you hate, because the ones you hate are bringing you the way that you need to see, the experiences you need to receive in order for you to be fully liberated beings.
The ones that they hate, the ones that people hate, the ones that you may hate, are giving you the experiences you need in order for you to be fully liberated beings.
Loving the ones you hate is the hardest thing for most humans. But loving the one you hate doesn't mean having to be in their presence, having to be gaslit by them, having to receive traumas they inflict on you, having to listen to all their words.
Loving the ones you hate doesn't mean you need to receive what they're inflicting upon you. Doesn't mean you need to receive and own the traumas that are around you.
Go by you, having to lose your sovereignty because they say that
Or to
they
lose
own
your sovereignty.
Mhm.
It means you love them because you know you are them. You love them because you've been them. And you love them because they came here for you. And that is the bigger picture.
Love them because you are them. Love them because you've been them. Love them because they came here for you. Thank you all so much. That's my presentation, everybody. Love you all. Thanks.